hold on. And they do get better throughout the year, but at the beginning it is quite challenging with 30 children, trying to get them to understand that there are 29 other children. It's not just them.
So are we all born megalomaniacs?
Very egocentric, but that's normal, isn't it? It's just the way they are.
Zoe is instilling in children a mutually understood code of behaviour that's taken centuries to develop. There's a book about it, The Civilizing Process, by a German sociologist called Norbert Elias. In the history of manners, you need to know about Norbert Elias. He's the most important thinker you've never heard of, according to Steven Pinker, the professor of psychology from Harvard University, and a thinker you probably have heard of. After all, you are listening to Radio 4. Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Thanks very much for talking to us today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Not at all. It was a short interview, but nothing if not polite.
A couple of words, how's this?
Great. I think we can start. So let's hear about Norbert Elias, a German Jew who published his great tome, The Civilizing Process, in 1939, a point where the civilizing process was under considerable threat. It charted the centuries of changing habits in human patterns of behaviour, from farting to murder. We couldn't get an interview with Norbert Elias because he died in 1990, but Steven Pinker was happy to talk about the great man.
He's one of the grand theoreticians about the course of history, in particular the transition to modernity that took place in Europe over a span of several centuries, beginning, say, in the 13th century. And he noted that there was a transition that was urged on people by etiquette manuals, including one by Erasmus, of all people. We think of him as a great social philosopher. Mm-hmm. But he was also concerned with table manners.
Right.
And advisories that we take for granted, like wait till everyone is served before you start to eat, don't slurp from the bowl, don't wipe your fingers on your shirt, don't gnaw on a bone and then put it back in the serving dish. Dozens of advisories that we give to 4-year-olds had to be instilled on adult Europeans.
What are the most important things in table
Please
manners?
and thank you, and don't chew with your mouth full.
Why do you think we shouldn't chew with our mouths full?
Because it's rude, and sometimes it can just put people off their food.
Zoe Barber's 4-year-olds, who arrive at school as skirt-tugging megalomaniacs, will leave with a whole load of rules in their heads, which they may or may not stick to as teenagers.
When we have big family dinners like roast dinner, I hate it when people want something and just lean right over you to get to it. And I find it really rude because they're like almost touching your food.
I sat down for lunch with Elizabeth, Teddy, Ocean, Grace, Kale and Ruel, all in their last year at St Mary Magdalene Primary, and it was very civilised.
What other things do you get told not to do at the table?
Don't put your elbows on the table. I don't exactly know why that's one, but that's just a common one most of the time.
Yeah, that's it, because you just had your elbows on the table, and just when he said, don't put your elbows on the table, you just suddenly, oh, whoops, I've got my elbows on the table. Yes, that is a common one, isn't it?
That's exactly what my dad says. He's always saying, get your elbows off the table.
And what do you think the reason for elbows on the table is?
It's because there's not enough room for you to put your elbows on the table and other people to sit there. So say if like you had someone next to you who put their elbows on the table, but you also put your elbows on the table.
That's the best justification for the elbows on the table rule I've ever heard. Throughout my childhood, my dad was always telling me, get your elbows on the table, elbows, elbows. But that's the reason for it, isn't it?
I always get told to make nice conversation with everyone when we're eating. Otherwise, it's just kind of awkward sometimes when you're just sitting there eating and no one's talking.
Oh, really? What's your best technique for keeping the conversation going?
Well, my best conversation starter is, how was your day? And it works very well.
By the way, if Ocean sounds a bit muffled, it's because he's covering his mouth to conceal the fact that he's talking with his mouth full. He's obviously finding the whole doing a radio interview while eating a bit of an etiquette minefield, as well he might. This is centuries of manners evolution. And they don't just know the rules, they know it can be good manners to ignore bad manners, and also that different countries have different manners. Elizabeth's family are German.
This is probably not for most people, but at home I always have to have my hands on the table because it's sort of a cultural thing in Germany. They had it long ago because if you had your hands off the table and underneath the table, then you could be hiding a weapon. So that's why it's a cultural thing to have your hands on the table. So I always forget.